crime fiction. Crime fiction is something very difficult to get right, and I've talked about crime fiction in 2 videos, including one about the writer I'm going to talk about. I'll link those down below, by the way, if you guys want to watch them. So I want to talk about what I've recently read, and I kind of wanted to give this its own video because this is a really good book. So I recently read Sleepwalker by Joseph Knox. Crime fiction is something very difficult to get right, and Joseph Knox is one of those writers that I kind of adore. So he's written 3 books, and I met him at the Derby Book Festival, where I got my copy of Sirens signed a few years ago now. And I fell in love with his writing. I mean, these books are now out everywhere, and so rightly so. And when you're getting write-ups from people like Lee Child on the back of your books, and even Ian Rankin, you know you're doing something right. The Smiling Man was equally a spectacular book. And his 3rd book, The Sleepwalker, wow. So this one, he's one of those writers that has written a detective who is as dysfunctional as the criminals. Aidan is this really dysfunctional screw-up of a detective. He's emotionally a little bit unstable, he has substance abuse issues, and he's kind of not in a good place. And Sleepwalker finds him... I'll read the synopses out to you. As a series of rolling blackouts plunge the city into darkness, Detective Aidan Watt sits on the abandoned hospital ward watching a mass murderer slowly die. He just has one job: to extract the location of Martin Wick's final victim before the notorious killer passes away. Having confessed to unspeakable crimes that shocked the nation and earned the nickname the Sleepwalker, he has spent over a decade in prison in near total silence. But when a daring, premeditated attack leaves one officer dead and another fighting for his life, Wick's whispered last words will send Watts on a journey into a dark and troubled past. This book gets under your skin, and I'm going to put links if you want to buy his books to Amazon down below. I mean, crime fiction is very difficult to get right, and I think Joseph Knox gets it right. And having read all 3 of his books so far, subtle changes in his writing style as he's grown as a writer as well. He's become more daring. He's always been good, but this book I think is more daring. It's slightly more abstract in certain areas, and it just gets under your skin. The chapters are short and sharp and to the point, but they leave you going, what the hell? And you just end up engrossed in this. I think there is a stereotype of crime writers that is not particularly true, especially female crime writers. There's a weird stereotype that is complete nonsense. But it's very rare you find a writer like Joseph Knox, where he just kind of comes out the woodwork and you are standing there with your mouth open thinking, this is amazing. He writes these convincing and real characters. It's all set within Manchester, and it all feels frighteningly real. If you've been to Manchester, you will know landmarks and places, and even historical footnotes are put throughout. I'm a crime geek. I love crime fiction, but I have to admit, it was Joseph Knox that pulled me back in. I kind of got bored with the crime tropes, and when you get these tropes that are done in a bloody hell, oh my god way, you do kind of... He flips everything on its head, and throughout this series he just does. I think the fact that he can write a detective like Aidan and just go, well, this is a guy, he's screwed up, he's done a lot of really stupid stuff, and here he is, and he's not perfect. He is far from it, and that's also refreshing. I want to see these turned into like an ITV drama, by the way. Like, ITV, if you're watching this, please turn these into a drama. I mean, I have casting in my head. I know this is a long ramble, but I've read a lot of spectacular crime fiction, and I've read a lot of bad crime fiction. And I think people like Joseph Knox, being a breath of fresh air in many ways, he's just a powerhouse. And this series, his books are just that. I mean, I think some of the first crime novels I've read was Ian Rankin, and I adore Ian Rankin, but there does come a point where you go, well, I've read this and I want to move on. I've read some great thrillers, I've read some great points, I've read, oh god, what was that crime novel that I read? It was called something like the Murder in Blue or something, and it was absolutely dire. And I hated it to the point that I didn't finish it. And then Sirens came out, and I just couldn't put it down. I couldn't stop reading it. And he's kept me sucked in with all of his books so far. And I'm like, hopefully we get another one next year, Joseph. I know I'm rambling and I know I'm going on and on, but, you know, if you want good crime fiction, if you want to check out some spectacular books that will just leave you gasping for more, check out Joseph Knox. Check out his books, Sirens, The Smiling Man, and The Sleepwalker. Each one of them is different. Each one of them tells a different story, but the characters, the world, the setting, everything just falls into place. And you wind up with these... It gets under your skin, and you can't put it down. So tell me what you think. Tell me, have you read any great crime fiction? Have you read any books that have just done that to you? So, as always, I'm Will, I'm the Bald Book Geek, and I will talk to you later. Bye.